All right, what is up, everybody? Good morning, happy Monday, and thank you for joining us for the 18th episode of the Tattoo Weekly, where we're beaming out from all over the United States. So if you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening to the podcast, let us know that all of these streams are working in the chat, or tag a friend who loves tattoos, or would like to join us on the fun. So you can check out some of the other reinventing drawing groups and shows on the Reinventing Network as well that are always happening and a lot of fun. But before we get started, we want to throw out a special thank you to our stellar sponsors for helping provide this content to you for free. We've got Raw Pigments with their acrylic-free pigments, and D-Lies Pro helping artists and clients protect their art. Also, of course, thank you to our affiliates, Fireside Tattoo, TattooNow, The Apprenticeship Diaries, and EcoFriendlyTattooSupplies.com. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead with our introductions. We've got myself, I'm Gregory. I'm with Reinventing the Tattoo and Raw Pigments. We also have Gabe Ripley of TattooNow and Jake Meeks of the Fireside Tattoo Network. What's up, guys? How you doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
How was you guys' frigid weekends?
Just about that, I would say. Frigid.
It's very cold. I don't let it stop me, though. I take my walks every day like clockwork. And
I know, that's crazy. And are you wearing flip-flops or actual shoes?
I wear shoes, and actually I do wear, I'm like, my wife was like, you don't even wear layers. I'm like, I do. I wear a sweatshirt and a jacket. She's like, no.
Yeah, base layers is how you survive and where I'm from.
Yeah. I went. I've told the story about going and doing the guest shop at Gabe's old spot before in East Hampton. But one morning it was, I don't know, -40, and I walked to the bank with him, and he was dressed about like that. And I thought, man, we really could be walking a lot faster to this bank. I didn't realize. I thought walking to the bank was like 3 doors down. Walking to the bank's like a 20-minute walk.
I believe in the environment. I don't want to pollute if I don't have to.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and roll our clip and we'll get started.
We'll do the zippy. Every Sunday night, Monday at 11.
Monday at 11 or 10.
Today is episode number 18, which we're creeping in on 20. I'm really happy to be here with you guys, so thank you.
Yeah. What are we doing for our 20th episode? What number is that? Is that
number
gold
20? I think we'll actually be at Red Tree. So if you're available
nice.
to do it on that Sunday, would be really cool. Maybe we'll talk to Derb or some of the awesome guests with the Red Tree live event would be cool.
Yeah, we should combine it with that. Unfortunately I'm going to miss 19. I think maybe not. I'm flying back from Austin. Yeah. And I don't know what time my flight is. I may be able to do it from Austin. I forget what time we fly back to Memphis.
Lauren, you were just talking about the fella from Austin. Corey.
Yeah, I was noticing my good friend from many years. He's actually from Appleton, where I live. He's got a spot in Austin. Jake, if you're on, he's really pushing boundaries with his fine art and kind of like offering guest spots to international artists. I kind of brought it up to you guys this morning. I noticed he had his last artist was Val Tatboo, if you guys are familiar.
Yeah.
She really, really stands out as an international kind of a sensational artist.
And teacher. Talent.
Yeah, exactly. She will be teaching a seminar at Love Machine in New York. And if you guys are interested, you could literally just go over to her page and find out more about that.
Yeah.
She's excellent.
Yeah. I do know. I know Corey. I haven't seen him. I haven't thought of his name in forever. When you text that this morning, I met him years ago. He's been on the podcast, probably one of our earlier podcasts in the first 50 or 60 probably. And one thing I'll never forget about Corey, he's a great artist. He fought in the tattooed gloves thing that they do down at this Austin convention. And it was funny because I remember before running into him, and he had been actually training for the fight. He really kind of had a grudge against whoever he was fighting, but I don't think the other guy knew that Corey was taking it as seriously as he was. And when I went to the event that night, Corey just completely, I mean, everyone else had fun and boxed. Corey just tried to take this guy's head off for about 2 straight minutes until the guy finally just quit. And so I'll never forget that about Corey. I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is worth noting that we have a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour, Hunter Spanks from Baltimore. He works at the Baltimore Tattoo Museum and does watercolor flash seminars. But he's great. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, Hunter Spanks, you did an event with him on TattooNow, I believe, earlier last year that was super interesting. I hadn't met him personally, but he's got so much knowledge, and it's a super cool artist for sure.
I was lucky enough to record and take part in his seminar at the Paradise BYOB. He did a watercolor seminar, and it was a really kind of hands-on thing. And he had tons and tons of flash and painting and work that he brought with him, and he really puts out a lot of work. And he also did that super cool kind of mashup with Guy live at the BYOB. All that stuff I think is available to download, isn't it, Gabe?
It is, yeah. Right now, we are shifting over technologies for reinventing. We're moving from 2 different platforms and kind of consolidating onto one. So www.reinventingthetattoo.com. Yeah, if you search for BYOB, you'll find the links from there. It's like the courses is the link, and it's pretty good though. That technology shift is great. I was using the new app on the iPad. Do I have my iPad around? I'll get it on a break. But it's native. So I'm like, it's native to the iPad. And people are like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, it's big on the iPad. And everyone's on their phone except for tattooers who have iPads.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that.
Is that the difference if it's native to the iPad? Because I noticed, like, if I pull up Instagram on the iPad, it still shows in a mobile kind of setup where I can see the bars.
Bullshit. It does. Some things will double the size or triple the size, I guess, right? But if something's native for the iPad, that means it's sized for the bigger screen. And I didn't even realize how, it's pretty impressive. I was pretty psyched. The new, it's great. Everything's big.
Yeah. It's funny. One of the things you don't think about so much that's becoming more and more of an issue is the formatting or whatever screen ratio sizes, and how they're really becoming, like, traditional ratios are becoming a challenge for I've been listening to some blockchain and NFT kind of stuff, and a lot of these guys who are putting out some really great kind of generative art or some of their own stuff digitally, they're whenever it's displayed, a lot of times they mean for it to be displayed in different types of aspect ratios, but it has to kind of compress to either a phone or a 16:9 on a TV or whatever. And I've heard 2 or 3 people talk about the need for more kind of like for more aspect ratios
formats or something. I mean, it is so tough. I mean even this, like, I'm looking at our screen here, and it's like we've got 3 horizontal screens, but because there's 3 of us, there's like 2 black spots. And it's like, how do you do this on a phone if we're trying to cut it into a fucking story, right? I mean, we can figure it out. It's not rocket science, but it's fun. I have been using some more of the stories and stuff. I'm putting together a little bit of a how to use the social medias for your stories and shit like that, with a couple like frames, and it is addicting. The only reason that I would be putting them on social media is because you could also first put them on YouTube, which is a search engine.
Right. I've noticed that YouTube Shorts, you guys have just been, their entire format has been a lot different. And like you said, they have the vertical videos now with YouTube. So a lot of changing stuff like that for sure.
I need to explore that a little more. I'm still going into YouTube and using it, Gabe, like you say, as a search engine. So I'm looking for something specific. I'm rarely browsing. So I haven't even seen a YouTube short yet, I guess. I mean, especially if the ratios are
they're only on the phones. Right.
Okay.
So you can only put them up and look at them on your phones. And it's designed specifically so you're scrolling. And I swear, please, everybody, I don't want to tell all the competition to flood YouTube with content that I want to flood it with good stuff with, but I'm just looking at shit, you know. And it's like the more good tattoo shorts we see, because tattoo clips are meant for that kind of stuff, right? And whereas some of the other social medias are, again, they're social medias, they're designed to keep you there addicted. YouTube, you know, is going to use those shorts to deliver people to the long form content, right? So in that manner, for me, it's like the best of both worlds. We get to do the vertical phone short stuff, and again, you know, with the videos that people are doing with their tattoos, it's perfect.
Gabe, question is, can you attest to this? I've seen some traction that, like other YouTubers and stuff, where they say now that they've implemented shorts into their channel in the content that they produce, their views are just skyrocketing.
Yeah, you know, it really depends on, again, it all depends on the type of content and the quality of it, right? So, you know, if, you know, and ultimately what the goal of the platform is, right? But, and this is where I would contest that, yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty good successes, you know, and again, I'm not like, I don't have it in a routine. I don't have my routine down, right? So I'm not doing all this shit 3 times a day like I'm supposed to across all the networks, making sure that these long form things are cut up into the, you know, but when done appropriately and consistently, yeah, absolutely. The shorts even on the YouTube, not all of them, you know, but even if it's like 1 out of 4 that are hitting, and again, the goal is consistency. So, you know, I would absolutely put forth that if you update your video on your YouTube as much as you do your Instagram or your TikTok, then, you know, in 6 months, YouTube is going to be delivering. And again, at the end of the day, you know, again, the intent is different on both of the platforms for people that are using them. So anyways, I've also been hearing some people complain about Instagram algorithms and shit like that, and it really sounds like chalk on a fucking or fingernails on chalk. But I'm like, you're really complaining about the fucking Instagram? It's not designed to deliver you shit. It's designed to keep you there and scrolling. And might, you know, and we do make connections, we do business on it, yes, but like, don't fucking complain about it. You're there for free. It's amazing that people complain.
Speaking of YouTube, it was interesting in how that works as well, and it kind of put things into perspective. So last month, my family's YouTube, you know, subscription, we saved 30 days of advertising in 1 month. You know, so it's pretty wild.
Wait, so explain that. Say that again. You saved 30 days.
We saved 30 days of advertising by just having a premium account. So that's how much you're getting advertised.
The premium YouTube accounts.
Yes. Yeah. So absolutely. It just talks about how much advertising really puts it into perspective. You know,
Marcus Leonard turned me onto that a couple of years ago.
You turned me onto it. I don't know why I didn't do that before. I mean, with the amount of time that we spend on YouTube, what is it, $10 a month? It's crazy.
Yeah, everybody that's watching this on YouTube, or anybody that's watching any of our things on YouTube that hasn't gotten it, we don't even get the money. Like, but you save the time. You'll watch more of us.
A lot of time.
Because you can do that. I mean, it's insane. To your point, Lauren, yeah, it's got to be serious amounts of fucking, and you can and then I hate to turn this into a YouTube fucking plus commercial, but you could explore different shit too. Like, there's so many risks that I would take on now. That said, I'm 2 years into it, and I do have hope that the artificial intelligence is not going to take over, because at this point they know my fucking profile and they still serve me the same fucking videos, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah. My son shares the Fireside profile. He doesn't post on it, but he's on it whenever he's searching. So what YouTube is feeding me is all 12-year-old boy stuff. I don't see anything that I'm actually interested in. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think some of the other current events that are happening, as you guys have heard in the past, I've spoken about a body art committee under kind of like a government entity, I would say, called AFDO, AFDO. So every single week we have like a phone call conference type situation where we kind of eyeball what's going on in the regulatory world of pigments and stuff, and body art, permanent cosmetics and such. So if any of you guys are watching this that are based in the state of Arkansas, that's kind of one of the main points that we had focused on in last week's meeting. And in the meetings, there are manufacturers from the biggest companies in the world. There are health inspectors, previous FDA representatives, all sorts of stuff. But, and if anybody's watching, you can attest to this, what's happened in Arkansas is what I would consider quite alarming. So there's regulatory entities that have essentially partnered or have recognized just a couple. There's 2 people that are now basically communicating with the government on what should happen. And basically, in a nutshell, they're requiring licenses. Essentially, you're required to have a new license, but the people issuing the people issuing these licenses are not necessarily issuing the licenses. So you're just kind of stuck. So it's pretty interesting. And what my point is not necessarily the specifics, but what my point is that this is happening in various states. Whereas you have to have a very specific type of license, and it's not just permanent cosmetics, but permanent cosmetics and body art are lumped into one. So what they are all recommending, and these are FDA officials, these are health officials, they're recommending that you know exactly who your senators are, and you have a plan to communicate with them, because some of these things, they happen, and you can't do anything about it because you weren't paying attention to what is happening in your state. So the word is, if you know, if you're tattooing, if you're a body art, anything, a piercer, anything like that, know and follow what's going on in your state. It's imperative, because if you don't, there's a lot of technicians that are out of work. They can't get their license. So it's a huge, huge issue, and it's not really spread out, because a lot of these things, people are worried about Instagram. They're worried about, their next appointment and stuff, but I highly recommend getting involved, whether it be writing letters or anything like that, but just know what's going on so you don't become a victim of too little, too late.
Right. Arkansas has always been a strange place when it came to tattooing, and it's 10 minutes this way for me.
Okay.
Memphis is on the Mississippi River, and the other side of Memphis is West Memphis, Arkansas. So I can drive to Arkansas in about 10 minutes. And so I remember years ago when I first started actually before I was tattooing, the guy that did the Reservoir Dogs on my arm in probably 92, 93. He was
you have a Reservoir Dogs tattoo?
You've never noticed that? Yeah.
Like from the movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. From like right after it came out. That's how much I loved it when it came out. But I've intended to cover it for years, but it's just never happened. Anyways, the guy who did this tattoo was one of the more established tattooers and really one of the better artists at Memphis. And for whatever reason, moved to Jonesboro, Arkansas, kind of at that time was a smaller town. And they had back then they had no way to transfer an existing license. The only way to get licensed in Arkansas was through a traditional apprenticeship. So he ended up in this whole kind of, this thing of dealing with licensed Arkansas tattooers who obviously he had no need. There was no reason for him to apprentice under these tattooers, but they wanted crazy amounts of money to sign off on an apprenticeship. So it just became this gaming the system type of thing that was so unnecessary and silly. And, it could have been fixed with, Lauren, to your point, just by talking to any sensible person, a legislative person that could present, this issue and show it was easy to show what a problem it was. But it was just one of those things. I guess Arkansas has always been, a little bit behind the curve when it comes to that. I
can show you a real quick, I know that nobody enjoys this type of stuff. It is so super boring, but this is kind of the bill that they're looking at. And it's bill SB 625. So if you're in the state and you are interested, it's only like 45 pages. Read through some of this stuff. It does affect, tattooing is lumped in as body art. So there's different rules and regulations that is great to pay attention to. And if you're too busy, you have a shop manager or something like that, that would probably be a smart move.
Yeah.
And this is, I was going to say this has happened with COVID where artists were kind of forced. You saw Durb being proactive, Litos being proactive in Florida, trying to communicate with people who could actually help. Mm-hmm. So,
democracy is a participatory sport.
Sure. Right.
A full contact participatory sport.
Sure. Yeah, moving past that boring stuff, Gabe, I think you had a cool video to share with everybody too.
I did I've been doing the TattooNow interviews more, and there's actually I got an agent or two that are passing people my way. This guy's Matt Yule. He's from the UK, and he's got a really awesome style. I don't know where I am in this video here. I'm just going to kind of plop us in because I didn't prepare enough, but the tattoos are really cool. Okay, hold on. Okay, fuck it. We're gonna do live. This is Matt Yule, and you'll see the different types of, the different tricks that he's pulling off. It's pretty cool. Share the sound, and we're just gonna hop right into the middle of this here.
Like, sort of every artist that's a tattoo artist, that you always feel like you're learning rather than teaching, if that makes sense.
Sure. Oh yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely a fair amount of people that are always intimidated or not intimidated, but to your point, they're like, well, what do I'm just me. What do I have to teach?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you do, that's for sure. Again, I'm just looking at a couple of the different, effects that you have going off here. And it's not like a kitchen sink of shit. It's like you're very deliberate about when you're doing what. And it's not trivial to mix, the hard lines with the realism, but make it look fucking right, And it's fun because it seems like there's some rules. And again, I don't tattoo, so I just like hear everybody, but it feels like there's rules that I've heard that you're breaking, but it's working. I don't know. I guess you know better than I.
There's so many different rules that you get. So, but I think sort of the cool thing about tattooing is you're always sort of learning whilst you're tattooing. So you're always learning something new.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the rules that you've been taught are the right way. It's sort of what works for you as a tattoo artist rather than being rigid and listening to exactly what someone else has done.
Yeah, it's funny for an art that is kind of born out of rebellion, or at least in recent times. To your point, it's like it's born out of rebellion, but there's always been an undercurrent of like follow what we do and don't fuck around.
Yeah.
And although that said, there are definitely lessons that I watch, younger artists learn again and again. I mean, and I learn it because I hear, people that have been tattooing 25, 35 years being like, yeah, we used to do that. We don't anymore. But I'm not seeing any of that in here. I mean, obviously these pieces are all, these are great. So do you tattoo a lot of tattooers or?
A fair few, to be honest with you. I've tattooed most of the guys that work here with me. And I do get quite a few asking me for tattoos as well, which is quite nice to be asked by other tattooists. It's quite humbling to be asked by other tattooists to tattoo them. So.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's your seminar right there. I mean, you're already teaching seminars. I imagine that they're asking you about the tattoos and what you're doing, or I mean, I'm sure they're watching regardless.
Yeah, you get the odd question. I mean, not that I know exactly how to explain what that I do to them while I'm tattooing them, but
sure. Yeah.
Part of the fun of learning is just watching other people, isn't it? So.
Yeah,
those are really nice pieces.
He said, I've got a whole folder full. Audio.
Oh, sorry. I really love his work. First time that I've heard him speak.
That's very fun. And then let's see, next week I've got Whitney. She does awesome black and gray work. She used to come up and do guest spots at the shop, and she'll be on with Bob Tyrell. So we're gonna do like a full nice. Black and gray.
What's her last name?
Whitney. Oh, Shrub. I can't pronounce it right. So I'm not gonna try yet. I'll have.
Thanks.
I've really been digging your TattooNow interviews, Gabe. It's something that I enjoy listeing to.
Yeah, thanks. I have like 2 years of like the lost interviews. Doing them live is so much easier. I wish, as we all do, like having just a little bit more focus, I think is the next step, and to tighten everything up just one more round. But I'm really lucky. The artists are awesome, in some ways, especially if I could just, flash up some pretty pictures. And then when I hear myself going, I go back, no, just be quiet and look at the picture.
Yeah, there seems to be a definite different dynamic from doing things live versus pre-recorded.
Yeah. You said we have our guest in the waiting room?
Yeah.
Did I see that?
Yes, Hunter Spanks is here.
Awesome.
You want to go ahead and let him in?
I don't know what our time frames are. Lauren, what time? You have to cut out a little bit early?
Yes, a little bit early today.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and let Hunter in, and here we go. All right, Hunter, you're in the room. Just getting your video and stuff set up. Thanks for joining. Other than that, Jake, what is your plan for getting down to Austin? Are you excited?
Yeah, I am excited. It's going to be hey, Hunter, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. Yeah, it's good. I was really bad about promoting that I was going. I didn't even tell anyone, so I had no appointments. And then we made an announcement yesterday, and I booked the weekend. So.
Oh, hell yeah. Right on.
So, yeah.
Well, awesome. What's up, Hunter? This is my first time meeting you. It's killer work, stellar stuff. Really happy to have you on.
Thank you very much. Thanks y'all Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm still waking up.
What time zone are you in right now?
I'm Eastern, but I got up and I went to the gym and stuff. So should I say I'm recovering from my morning workout?
Gotcha.
So.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Is that something that you have started recently, or were you always like get up and go at them?
No. The polar opposite. I started it in September.
Okay.
I was starting to push 200 pounds. My cholesterol's through the roof. And, I'm 49 years old. So I just
no joke.
Just add that to the regiment of, as you know, Gabe, changes that I've been making in my lifestyle since, for like the last 5 years. So that's the most recent one. And I'm sticking with it pretty good.
Awesome. And you have kids?
No.
Okay. So you're doing this for yourself. 100% awesome. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, I got to get healthy for my kid. Like,
no kids, no girl at the moment. I've been single for almost 3 years. Cool. Yeah, life's good.
But you haven't been able to travel though. No, you're a traveling kind of a guy? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, so what, 2006 to 2011 was probably my biggest period of traveling. I was lucky enough to get over to some of the European conventions pretty much every year through those years. And a handful, like a slew of others, sometimes just one time only, actually going back to Columbus here in a little bit, couple weeks. That'll be my first time back since like Hell City in like maybe 2005 or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
So just to let people know, the Reinventing the Tattoo Live that's happening at Red Tree and True Tube. Hunter will be heading over and tattooing all traditional stuff for the 2 days and drawing and stuff. So,
are you teaching anything, Hunter, or just going to tattoo and
I don't know. I guess ask Gabe. I have no idea.
I think that the timing had worked out so that we had filled up all the spots, but I'm sure that you're going to be there for 2 days. So if anybody,
I'll be there if anybody wants to do one-on-one or something like that. I mean, I'm always down for that. I'll have stuff with me. So however it works out. Because I jumped on or kind of confirmed last minute. I know because I kind of like I have a hernia I have to get operated on, so I've been trying to wait and see when they were scheduling that surgery. So
speaking of getting old, huh? Fuck.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. But that was just like, I think, Gabe, you'd hit me up at the end of last year, at the beginning of January, and I was like, I just didn't know at that point in time. I really hadn't even had the second consultation with the surgeon on what we were going to do and everything. So, that is what it is too. I mean, luck. I mean, I'm in luck with it. I mean, I have no pain from it or anything. It just, I kind of have this third eye thing sticking out of the top of my belly button,
So sorry, I didn't mean to distract you from your story. You were talking about Hell City like 15 years ago or 17.
It was 17 years ago. Yeah. But so, I mean, I did. I mean, it wasn't much. I mean, but that was like the only time I did that one for no other reason. I mean, I jumped around. I never really stuck to like a strict. There's only a handful of conventions. And not even really a handful. Like I was, like I said, I was lucky enough to do London from 06 to 2011. Got to do Milan a couple times. But like Rochester is probably my longest running that, I've stuck with. I've known Jet for a little bit, and I like the vibe of that convention. It's small, the way they used to be, the way when I started going to convention, and nothing against big conventions. Because I mean, obviously London's like the polar opposite.
The biggest,
of that.
one of them,
huge. It's mind blowing. It's like a shopping mall of tattooers.
Rochester's always kind of had that. That's the Rock City one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's always had, like, I haven't been there, but the vibe that it gets out is awesome. My daughter is now in Geneva there, so I'm hoping to this time.
April 22nd through the 24th, as far as I know. I mean, we just got the green light from them. I mean, it's kind of been on again, off again for like everything has, but like as far as I can tell right now, it looks like we got a green light, and that's when it's going to be this year. I've
always go ahead.
Oh no, I kind of started to slim down as some of these conventions got, bigger and maybe not necessarily knowing who promoters were and things like that. Just a little bit more selective on, you know, who kind of was on that. Put it this way, if I was not going to be busy that weekend, I wanted tattooers that I wanted to be able to go over to a tattooer I looked up to and, you know, sit down and at least watch them tattoo or shoot. You know, some of these shows, sometimes it's, you know, the talent I don't think is quite there. And it's kind of a bummer knowing you're kind of sitting on your hands because the guy next to you is, you know, half your price. And obviously the quality of the work reflects that, you know. That can be frustrating. I mean,
yeah. And that, to your earlier point, I really love small kind of boutique shows. For one reason, it feels like summer camp to me. I feel like I see the same people at those shows that I pretty often don't see at any other show, because maybe it's in some small part, like neck of the woods, that people don't really get to. But one of the challenges with that, especially for promoters that are running small shows or even trying to, you know, start shows, is getting solid artists up and down the aisles. And I've watched that happen. I've watched the kind of struggle of some of these small shows just trying to get, you know, they just want a couple of anchor guys in there or people in there that can draw in, you know, some other high quality people. And it's really, I mean, it's a teeter-tottery thing, you know, like they have to fill booths, and they're doing their best to get someone in that can pull other competent artists in, but it's not easy to do a lot of times.
You know, that's for me. And Hunter, maybe if you want to talk about that London show, man, Mickey really was able to pull in like all high quality people from like all of the different schools of tattooing. And
it really is a mind. You know, I was lucky enough to do it at the, you know, original location, the Trauman Brewery, I think is how it's pronounced. And it was like a 3-story thing, but when they moved it over to the tobacco docks, like, I don't know if either of you have been over there.
I've been there.
So the tobacco docks, I don't know what it, like, you can look up the history of it, and I forget what it is. But they've renovated this place. I mean, it's like there is like a little canal to it, so I'm assuming some shipping or of some sorts went through there. But it's like all glass roofed, pretty much. It is 2 stories, so but like all the artists are like under this glass roof, and it's like all these glass rooms. So when I say it's like a shopping mall, like whatever your room number is, you know, there's probably those booths are smaller. And they're, you know, kind of like an actual, like, instead of our tapestry booths, like almost like hard wall, like hard back booths. I don't know, they maybe fit. I mean, there's still two booths. So maybe there's 10, maybe a few more. So like 20 in each room or whatnot. And like the few years I went, like your name was on the door to like the glass room and stuff. Yeah. It was really, really neat. Like,
oh, that's cool.
And I mean, and you know, the years I got to go, lots of heavy hitters, but, you know, since, you know, the last few years that it happened, and sadly, you know, it's maybe not going to happen again or on hiatus. I mean, it's, you know, been 10 years since I've done it, but it's been awesome to see people like, you know, like when I was going, Mike Dorsey wasn't going, but, you know, to see, and like that dude, the last couple of years that happened, had, you know, these huge art shows, and, you know, to sit from afar and see that happen and not be there, it's kind of sad. But then, like, you know, that's, I guess, to the point of what you're saying, what Mickey was able to do. It definitely still, the years that it ran, wasn't always the same people. Like, you know, there was, so whether it was that art, you know, whether it was, say, back 10 years ago, Mike's traveling and what he wanted to do or whatnot, you know, it still wasn't always the same complete lineup of artists. And I think that's, I mean, that's important to keep it a little fresh.
Yeah, I mean, tattooers don't want to keep going. I mean, as a convention promoter, you know, it's like, I mean, one of the reasons why I would move around my show is because people don't want to go back to the same place again and again and again. And it's a lot of fun to go. And but that falls into alignment with what I'm about. You know, I also just want to travel and go all these nice places. I'd rather go to a dozen nice places than, you know, the same place again and again myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that, like we were talking about Hell City, and that Phoenix show is a perfect example of that. It's a really beautiful resort, and of course, Dirk puts on a nice show. But if, you know, you're looking at other things that are happening around the same time, and as a, you know, as a tattooer now, you have so many options if you want to travel. And you're like, man, I love that Arizona Biltmore, but I've swam in that pool a lot of times now. You know, I've done that. Like I've done that Saturday night, whatever pool party enough, and I've done the hikes, and it's like, maybe it'd be nice to go somewhere else. And so I would imagine it's a challenge to, as a promoter, especially with a destination place that is kind of, what it is. And it's always that.
Yeah. But on the other hand, there's always people that want to experience it, right? That's the beauty of the tattoo world and everything, right? It's like, there's it's, I mean, I've watched a round of my tattooer friends in the last, say, 3 to 5 years kind of go through various stages of like, I'm just going to hunker down and create art. Like I did the scene but it wasn't, it's not for me now. It was then. And, but the art that people can then get to create as they're doing that, and then they come back out and they go around. I mean, it's all ebb and flow, right? It's like a band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's easy to, especially after the last couple of years that we've had, where a lot of us just ended up sitting in our studios, and then you start to get used to the idea, and you start to think, man, it was a lot of hassle to pack all of my gear and book someplace I can tattoo. I know I can tattoo here 3 days a week and make my living and spend the rest of the time in my studio, and it's easy to start thinking that way. But then as soon as you get back out there and like see those faces again for the first time, or like hear the, whatever, just, set up your booth or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I do kind of miss this. It's, sometimes it just takes getting back out there and doing it though to realize it.
No, it's a lot of fun. Not convention wise, I had more guest spots planned for 2020 when everything shut down. But some of these shows too, the idea I get is when you're packing these convention halls with 800 artists, this, that, and the other, and, obviously even before, the last couple of years, but prices creeping up, some of these folks, they're buying, if they're smart and they plan on coming in 3 days, they're buying the 3-day pass. But if they're getting it, or even only come in 2 days, you'd still probably be better off buying a 3-day pass, because a 1 day getting in. And then if you're like in Baltimore or whatnot, you're going to pay $30 to $50 for parking for the day, you're $100 in before you even walk through the door. And I mean, what we do costs money,
Right.
I mean, there's, no bones about it. I also think too, some people, it's as our popularity has grown over the last 25 plus years, at times I cynically say it can be kind of like a fashion show when you see that girl walk by in her 3 different outfits through the one afternoon, and she's not there to get tattooed. Her group is not there to get tattooed. They're just there to be seen. Yeah. And there's a cool thing about it, but I guess that there is an element of maybe like, at car shows, they don't necessarily sell cars. You go to look at cars. Right. And in some ways, some of what we do has kind of transformed into that, so
yeah,
it might be a little bit of just showcasing your artwork, and maybe you don't do a lot of work,
I think that's a good, go ahead, Gabe.
I was just going to say, guy had leaned on me a couple of years ago to do like the art retreats, so that's like 100 tattooers with no tattooing, Yeah. And to your point, like, but it is crazy. I guess there's, it's all sorts of crazy parties.
Yeah. I was going to say that car show is is an interesting comparison, and I think a good one, especially since a lot of tattooers have reached kind of a celebrity status. There are people that just come to see their favorite tattooers just to be in the same room with them now, like they would at say like a Comic-Con, so they come and see their favorite artists. They're not necessarily there to buy anything from them. They're just there to kind of be in the presence of their favorite ink master or whatever it is. And that's something that, you talk about that's changed in the last 25 years. That's something that's changed in the last decade, really, where people are coming to tattoo shows, not necessarily to get tattooed, but just to be around their whatever, they're the celebrity tattooers at a lot of these shows, which is something I would have never considered.
That's funny. It is like going to see your favorite TV stars at the Comic-Con.
Right. Hunter, do you when you are doing guest spots or shows, do you are you booking a lot beforehand? Or are you the type that just likes to like put out flash and see what comes along? And what's a typical?
I would like to be booked, but maybe I'm not a good networker or a good so I'm usually not very booked on either guest spots or a lot of times guest spots it'll use, I try to get to some different ones, but a lot of times it's, just friends that I've known. So usually it'll be a, handful of things from other guys in the shop or whatnot. And, I'm a walk-in tattooer, so, whatever comes through the door, convention, it would be nice to have more stuff, but like I said, I don't know if I use the wrong hashtags or whatever. It's not a big deal. Like, it all generally, I used to stress about it real bad. And honestly too, like my ego was pretty big. So I used to get like, I would get pissed off. I mean, there's, if we're going to be quite honest, and frustrated and just like, screw this. And generally, like if it was a convention, if I wasn't kind of busy by the evening on Friday, like early afternoon, I was checking out and getting drunk. And and then that usually started that cycle for the weekend, so there, a lot of times, basically I'm being honest and going, I kind of shot myself in the foot back in those days when that was my behavior.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. So
I remember you and Jesse having a conversation either at his seminar or at yours when you were breaking up, that both of you guys had kind of quit drinking and changed your lifestyle pretty drastically. In recent years. And Jesse, I guess it's been a lot of years, but I guess for you, it's just been the last 2 or 3 years that you.
No.
October
was 5 years for me.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, I don't, and it doesn't matter. Honestly, I'm sober today, so that's we'll see.
Right.
I don't get too far ahead of it, But just like, reflecting back on that was just like, I'd gotten some kudos from people in the industry or whatever, and like, when Tattoo Artist Mag was out, Crash, definitely pushed me a lot and, helped my name get out there. But like I said, with that came kind of this ego, and it's just like, well, why am I not working? Why am I not doing this and whatever? And, and then it would just cycle into bad habits, on the weekend. That usually never, like, they didn't really happen at guest spots. Like I said, guest spots are always kind of, you kind of go, like, I'm always looking for new places to go, people to reach out, or like, this, that, and the other, but it's usually people that, whether it's through conventions, that I've met and that I know. And two, I like a lot of times, I mean, as of recent, going down to Tim Forbes's place down there in Stanton, Virginia, like little small towns, George Archer's place down there in Petersburg, Virginia, just south of Richmond, these little small main street towns or whatnot that, these really cool artists have developed this cool clientele, so you get this mixture of like street shop stuff, and then you get these kids or people who've been tattooed by everybody in the shop, so it's like, hey, we set you up with this guy, and whatever you want to do, they'll be cool with it, so I like the mixture, man. I might get too much ego again if all I got to do is the shit I wanted to draw.
Right. But I would assume even going places and not having something to do in advance, you're prolific enough in the amount of work that you put out that it's like people know what you do. I would think that you have a steady stream of walk up kind of wherever you go because you put out so much work for people to choose from.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always prepared.
Yeah.
And like I said, though, I'm pretty easy. Like, I think when I really started painting heavily, it was to balance out being in street shops and being frustrated, going, well, I don't get to do any of the cool stuff. We'll draw and paint the cool stuff, and hopefully you'll get to tattoo it.
Yeah.
And then too, you can also have these finished products that you can show people. Because I mean, you try and explain, some kind of design that maybe or idea that they brought in and going, well, we can do that traditionally. Well, they don't know what that means. I still find at times, maybe sometimes it's the counter people or myself, you're talking to somebody and you're using terms like negative space or whatnot, and they don't know what honestly, if they come in for lettering, you go, what kind of font do you want? An average person does not know what a font is.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah. I remember a few years back, we had Euless Blair on the show. I don't know if you know Euless. He's in Alabama. He's not in Alabama now, but he was an Alabama tattooer. And he made the point that if you're trying to stay busy and, at work at conventions or guest spots, that you should do fully rendered work, that blue pencil sketches or, colored pencil sketches don't translate to people walking down aisles. They don't know, they can't visualize what that skull actually looks like. But if you'll render it fully, then you really shoot up the number of people who are interested in it, because they can see what it actually is. Pretty obvious advice whenever you think about it, but a lot of people don't think about it, especially when you walk down aisles and you just see sketchbooks or tracing paper, stuck in a board with just blue pencil sketches on it.
Well, it's, it definitely worked for me, and I still don't do it. But one year, I don't remember exactly what year it was, doing London. I had done, because I like 4x6s, but I had done, I forget how many it was. We'll just say 10 or whatever. Fully rendered 4x6s, and had the price with it, and in the price basically would include getting it tattooed, and you could take the painting with you. Yeah. And when you're doing something like, not you got this package deal, but like having it priced, because especially internationally, a lot of people that are coming up your booth, and I speak no other languages, don't speak your language. They know what currency they're dealing with. So as long as it's got the little pound sign next to it and a number, they don't have to interrupt you, because honestly, they're generally not as rude as Americans are. They're not going to sit there and, like, not to say that like at an American show, I've had somebody come up and be like, "Hey buddy," or whatever, but they might stand there for a second, but they'll quickly move on and, find something they can interact with. Or, I had it laid out like that, and, they at least knew the price or whatnot. So I can't remember if I did every single one of them, but it definitely was one of the busiest years I had at that show, Yeah.
These pieces all look awesome. I love the flash, and it seemed like you sold a lot of it at the BYOB, or at least people coming up afterwards. The stuff that's the color combinations with the kind of ochre background and the hot pink kind of popping forward. That when you step back and just look at the work as a whole, that's such an interesting color combination. I don't know what I just saw that reminded me of that. One of those pieces.
That was for a show last summer at Westminster Tattoo Company, which is kind of close to where I live. I work at the Baltimore Tattoo Museum in Fells Point. I've been there coming up on 2 years. But Beth reached out to me and asked me, she's got like a pretty big art space wall in there. And I mean, I have plenty of stuff that if I didn't want to paint new stuff, I wouldn't have to. But I kind of, when I'm asked to do it, with the shop's got a group show coming up, and it's kind of one of those situations of like, I don't need to paint anything new, but it's kind of like, I should paint, new stuff for it. So that was one of those situations. And I had just done one painting and like with that color scheme. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I honestly did the most paintings I think I've ever done ever. Like I did most of that show in like a day and a half or 2 days. And it was like 25 pieces. Like it was ridiculous. It was really like, there was the one day that I did the majority of the show was, I'd got up at 7 that morning or whatnot. And I think I went to bed, 1 or 2 the following morning, and pretty much sat religiously and just, usually I procrastinate. I procrastinate. And I also too, when I'm working, I can, I take a lot of breaks. I can get sidetracked a good bit, so it's like you do it all the time. Well, I have to do it all the time because I never sit down for, long hours, 3, 4, 5 hour stretches, and it's all done in 45-minute increments.
Right. Yeah. We got a few comments here on the Fireside YouTube. I've missed a handful of them, but this last one says, when I do designs, I always fully render everything, but it's mostly for me. And that's actually the way it should start. Sure. It really, it shouldn't necessarily be for the end user. It should be to work out, your process kind of all the way through. And that's really how you challenge yourself and find, and do interesting things. Anytime I see someone that's putting out work that really strikes me and I go like, wow, how did they come up with that? It's because they fully rendered that and played with the idea and pushed themselves and probably got it to a point of being finished, and then looked at it again a week later and said, what would be cool is if I did this instead of that. And So yeah, I'm with you, Sugar Waters. That's the way I try to do it too. I try to pick a piece. I don't fully render every piece that I do, but I try to pick a piece and always be working on something and getting it to a point of finish. I think it's so important to finish work. Well, I say that, and then I've got so much unfinished. Everything sitting on these walls is unfinished, but I think it's important to finish something every week.
Christian Perez, I took his oil painting. I've never really messed with oil paintings, and that seminar for me was awesome, although I still have not picked it up because I'm afraid of having to clean all that stuff with watercolor. It's pretty simple, but that was something he said, about finishing paintings. And I used to be really religious about not starting stuff before I finished other things. And now I'm sitting at my art table right now with a slew of unfinished things, including the painting I did at the seminar that stares at me going, finish me. I was happy with what I did in the few hours that we were there doing that. But like I said, the idea of turpentines and oils and all that stuff, it's just like,
yeah, you
it's
really do.
It's a cool medium though. Like it's always been in high school and stuff. The old masters. That's the stuff I love. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The difference is I keep a watercolor setup right here. And in fact, here are brushes that have been sitting in water for, I don't know, a week now that I haven't had to do anything with, and I can just rinse them off and they're fine. But to start an oil painting over on that side of the studio, I really have to commit to the day. I don't want to paint for 20 minutes because, those brushes are too expensive. If I leave them sitting in the turp, then first off, I've got an open turp sitting there. And then second, they get nasty and gummy, and I don't want to take the time to actually clean them after 20 minutes of work. So it's definitely more of a commitment to sit down and make an oil painting. Whereas, like I said, I just leave these watercolor brushes sitting here. I hardly ever clean them, to be honest. They just sit in water and start over.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick, from the chat room, Atomic Injection says, awesome show thus far. I think that thus far
Thank you.
Us, a little bit of time to screw it up, but not that much more time.
Oh yeah,
not much more time. Yeah, we're about to wrap it up. I've got it. And speaking of all this making art, I've got to go do a tattoo in an hour. I had to reschedule somewhat. I normally don't tattoo Mondays, but I have to today because I'm headed to that Austin convention. Awesome. I'm leaving Thursday, so I had to move my Thursday appointment. So
well, let me fire up Hunter's Instagram real quick for your closing words or last kind of comments or last to help close out the show, I guess.
Yeah.
So here we are. This is HR Spanks on the Instagrams. So if you're addicted to
social media, it's the same on Facebook too. I think if anybody's still using that, I post everything through Instagram.
Yep.
Awesome.
But I definitely. Well, I try to take from social media and then give to the search engines.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, Instagram is my posting platform. I never get on Twitter. I don't even, I have a link to, stuff goes out there. I don't even check in on it. And Facebook is where I get voyeuristic because I don't know. I like watching people argue with each other. It's silly. It's a silly, bad habit, I think. But, everybody has these opinions and they think people want to hear them. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have a bit of that problem when it comes with sports season. I know Gabe his eyes will glaze now, but whenever my team loses badly, I immediately go to the fan page's Instagram and just cruise through all the comments to see everyone bash them. I don't know why I want to see people bash these poor kids who put their effort on the floor and lost. It's like, why do I care to sit and watch what people have to say about them? But I do.
Well, they bash everything about it. I didn't get to see it, sadly, but apparently that Chiefs-Bills game is like one of the best games of the season.
It was incredible. It was amazing.
All I saw this morning was like the NFL needs to change the overtime rule. And
right.
I'm kind of like, well, you win the toss, you pick what you pick, and the rules, rules are rules. The Chiefs scored the touchdown. That's all they had to do. So they won in overtime.
That's right. Yeah, someone has to have a complaint for sure.
Well, I kind of get it. It might be more fair if, it was played like it was just a normal, quarter or whatnot. But I was just like, hey, they came out of that overtime ready to win it. And they did it.
So. They did. That's right. Yeah.
The one
Cool.
thing that I miss in my own personal journey about not participating or believing in sports at all is I'm a really sore loser, and so I'm trying to learn how to lose. And I realized like chess, and I learned about so many of the chess. I'm like, oh fuck, and I am like to flip the board over and being like, I suck. It's not that you're good, it's that I suck. But sports and that stuff, it's really good to it's good to learn how to lose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know that I figured it out yet, but you're right. You have to deal with it in sports. So there's that. So. Well, cool. Have we said it all? We want to shut this down?
I think we have for the moment. Again, I'm
All right.
excited to catch up in 2 weeks, February 5th and 6th. You'll be taking walk-ups in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
for
whatever.
We'll,
I mean, if people are
jamming
listening, they can DM me through that Instagram or whatnot, and set stuff up. But yeah, or if they're there and want to do a little one-on-one lesson, I mean, we can figure it out.
Awesome. And you were correct. I am definitely not swinging down in that direction before boogieing out. I'm also going
I was going to say, when you were like, I can come down and pick you up, I was like,
I love road trips, but then I was
but I was like, you don't love that road trip.
No. That's like the 95 to the Philly. But but that said, I do want to come down there and check out the Philadelphia Museum too. Because
Baltimore Museum, but either way.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's all good. But those guys said it was cool. So
perfect. All I need to do is get my car.
Make that happen.
Next oil change in my car.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks
everybody.
again, everybody, for watching.
Yeah.
We had a lot of great
Thank you
feedback.
so much.
Good to see you, Hunter. We'll talk
Good to see you. Definitely.
I'm
Have fun in Austin.
Yeah, thanks. We'll do.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
See ya.